symbolic of
Love it.
me being able to stay out all night.
What?
Yes.
What is it, a razor?
All my friends are talking like this.
Yeah, we figured about 3 years
Gentleman's razor.
you'd be able to use it.
A gentleman's razor? Uh-huh. Well, your father can't use it, so we gave it to you.
I was going to say, that's a better razor than I have.
I know. Well, your father didn't start till 22 or 23, Jay,
Whoa.
so, you know, you're going to start a little earlier, probably.
All right, on that note, let's end it. Say goodbye.
Merry Christmas, goodbye.
Say Merry
Oh,
Christmas.
gosh.
That she went free, Erin Tobin did, but the grand jury was wrong.
I am not saying that the grand jury is wrong. Mr. Wallace, there are 3 people who know whether or not this suspect is guilty. She knows, and the children know. I don't know. You don't know. The grand jury does not know. Child abuse does not occur in public.
I suppose the fact is that you do have a record. Here.
Yes. I do.
Tobin has had to work her way through college. What effect will that record have on her career?
One of the first things I thought about was how it would be on when I would filled out a job application and they asked if you'd ever been arrested or if you'd ever been arrested on a felony and if you've ever been convicted. I thought, you know, from now on I can't answer that.
Well, you'll have to.
I mean, but I can't answer that saying no. I'm going to have to tell somebody, and just to have to bring that up all the rest of my life.
Have you talked to the parents?
No.
Do you want to talk to them? Do you want to find out?
The first night, I really wanted to call them and just say, how could you possibly think I could do that to your kids? You know I love your kids, and I always have, and I wouldn't think of doing anything to them.
Have you babysat at all since this happened?
No. I have no intention of probably ever babysitting for anyone. It would be, except maybe family, but it would be a long time before I would babysit for someone again.
Simply because?
Because it's made me afraid of kids.
I've always been very close to a granddaughter. She's 4 years old. And when I put my arm around her, I touched her leg down in this area. And here comes this shield saying, you know, don't do that, don't do that. Like there was something wrong with it. And it's the fear, I guess, in this country of some kook somewhere is going to see me touch this child and press charges against me or something. I don't know.
Are we in the media responsible for all of the attention and all of the lurid details of this kind of thing coming out now?
To some extent you are. There's no question that national magazines, national TV, local TV, this is the crime that is being discussed this year. 10 years ago, a case might come through, no public attention at all. They might get the family together and handle it some other way. I don't think they feel they have that ability to do that anymore because of the public attention. So yes, you are.
Has this done any damage to your self-esteem? Truly?
I think at first, especially, I felt like I was a criminal. I mean, I had a record. Even though I didn't do anything, I still had a record. And as far as anyone looking at that record could tell, they didn't know whether I was guilty or innocent. There would always be that doubt.
What recourse does Erin Tobin now have? Although they have been given little encouragement, she and her father would like to file suit against the parents and the Austin Police Department.
I hate to wait.
He hates to wait.
Well, you have to wait. So sorry.
Avis knows how frustrating it is to wait for your rental car. That's why we invented the Wizard number, so you can go right from your plane to the Avis bus. I hate to wait. We'll get you on your way and into your car fast. We know you hate to wait, so from reservation to return. I hate to wait.
He hates to wait.
We're trying harder, faster. I hate to wait.
Good luck.
Thanks.
You're not just another face along the way to another place.
Sorry, can't use them. Maybe next year. Don't need them. Great lunch.
You're the pride of United's friendly skies.
Dinner?
Oh, not just now.
Rough day, huh?
Twice that.
Hey, tomorrow's another day.
We should have been here yesterday.
No, they're all right for us.
Got so many ways to fly ya.
Well, maybe I can do something about it.
Standing by ya.
Can you help out a dead battery in ATV?
Sure. It's got nothing to add up anyway.
Tough trip, huh? What business you in?
You're not just flying, you're flying the friendly skies.
Now, you sure you can get 350 million of them to me by the 1st?
You're not just
How was the trip?
Not bad.
You're flying the friendly skies.
Tonight, a congressman's mysterious death brings Jessica to the halls of power.
Somebody moved his body.
But she soon discovers that murder, corruption, and blackmail are the first order of business. Herschel Bernardi guest stars with Angela Lansbury in Murder, She Wrote. Then Jack Warden's a freewheeling private eye. John Rubenstein's his son, a button-down attorney.
Heck of a lawyer.
Together, they solve mysteries.
Like father, like son.
Case in point, what's the connection between a piece of old movie film and a dead man's cigar box?
Maybe a murder.
Crazy Like a Fox, tonight.
Two of the scariest words in the English language are bank failure. 119 have failed in the last 2 years, more than at any time since the Depression. Another 800 are listed as problem banks. The banks that failed were members of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, so the government will make good most of the losses. But a dozen other banks, state-chartered banks, failed, and they were not members of the FDIC. They may not have been banks under a strict definition of the word, but they were banks to the people who had money in them. What happens when one of them fails? This is the story of the collapse of the Commonwealth Savings Company in Lincoln, Nebraska.
I remember so plain the night that came over the news.
Keith and Ruth Markle had most of their life savings in the Commonwealth Savings Company in Lincoln. When Commonwealth closed its doors in 1983, they lost it all. 2 months later, Keith Markle was dead. Ruth Markle is convinced the loss of the money killed him.
We were eating, and it come over the news, and he dropped his fork, and he said, "Mom, we lost our savings." And he got as white as a sheet. He hadn't smoked before then on account of his emphysema, and he started smoking again. And then he couldn't sleep at night. He'd walk the floor and he'd say, "Oh, why did we do this? Why did we leave our money?"
The Markles were typical of Commonwealth's depositors. 7,400 people lost $67 million. 70% of them were retired men and women. They were the kind of people held up to the rest of us as good examples. People who saved their money so they wouldn't be a burden to their children or to the government when they got old. Reuben and Lillian Worcester lost about $123,000, money that was earmarked to care for a 24-year-old son.
He's retarded, and I'm taking care of him.
He lives with you?
That's right.
Were you counting on that money to make things a little easier for him? Or
Yes, we were. We was putting this money aside, so if anything would happen to my husband and myself, that he would be taken care of.
George and Frances Osborne lost $122,000 in the Commonwealth collapse.
You know, they sent us a letter and asked us to come to a meeting at the police department. They wanted us to come up there so that a psychologist could make us happy living without our money. I said, God, man, I don't want to learn to live without my money. I want my money.
No one was laughing when Commonwealth failed on November 1st, 1983. A panic started when a newspaper reported Commonwealth was in trouble. Before opening time, dozens of depositors were lined up in a freezing rain, hoping for a chance to withdraw their money. That's called a run on the bank. And no bank can survive a run because most of its cash is out in the form of loans. So the Nebraska Banking Department closed Commonwealth that morning. It even changed the locks so the bank's officers couldn't get in until an audit was completed. If Commonwealth had been solvent, that is, if it could have called in enough of its loans to cover its deposits, it would have been able to reopen and no one would have lost anything. But Commonwealth was not solvent. Sumner E. Koppel, the founder, owner, and president, refused us an interview. But at a legislative hearing, he blamed the recession for his troubles.
And as to what caused Commonwealth's failure, I think two things. One was the economy and owning too much real estate, and the interest rate. The real problem was the borrower didn't pay his note. If every borrower would pay his note, you'd never have a failure.
But bank executive Neil West, who was sent in by the state to look over Commonwealth's books, says the problem wasn't the economy, it was mismanagement and theft.
What I really found was a company that had been allowed to run completely amok. There was no information on any of the borrowers. There was no way to tell whether a borrower had the ability to repay any of the loans that were made. I found $47 million of loans that the company had reported to be earning assets. I determined that roughly 41 of those 47 million of loans were uncollectible from the borrowers. I found false entries on the books of Commonwealth. By best estimates, I think that roughly $10 million was actually stolen from the company.
Stolen in what way?
Money extracted by insiders through bogus loan transactions, by setting up what they called real estate contracts, which were really just ruses designed to extract money from the company and set up an asset on the books that was basically a worthless asset.
Something like this doesn't happen all at once, in a month or so. It must have taken years to develop. Why didn't anybody notice?
Well, I think that what I witnessed down there was a total breakdown of the state banking department and its role as a regulator.
If Commonwealth had been a member of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, as this bank is, its depositors would not have had to worry no matter why the bank failed. Any bank can become a member of the FDIC if it has enough capital, experienced management, and is willing to submit to federal regulation. Deposits in member banks are insured by the government up to $100,000. Deposits in savings and loan companies are also insured through the Federal Savings and Loan Insurance Corporation.
Commonwealth wasn't a member of any federal insurance program. The reason lies in the definition of the word bank.
Commonwealth Savings Company looked like a bank. It accepted deposits like a bank. It made loans like a bank. But technically, it was not a bank. Under Nebraska law, Commonwealth was an industrial loan and investment company. These companies have a great deal more latitude than regular banks in the kind of investments they make. Like most Nebraska industrials, Commonwealth was heavily into real estate development. Because its investments were more speculative than a regular bank's, it was authorized to pay higher interest rates than they could.
Our first thought was, okay, Commonwealth's depositors gave up the security of the FDIC to earn a little more interest. They knew they were taking a chance. What are they complaining about? But we learned those depositors didn't think they were taking a chance. They thought their money was perfectly safe. Why? Because Commonwealth was a member of the Nebraska Depository Institutions Guarantee Corporation. The NDIGC was set up under state law as sort of Nebraska's own little version of the FDIC. It was supervised by the Nebraska Banking Department. It was supposed to provide insurance for industrial savings companies like Commonwealth so they could compete with FDIC-insured banks. Commonwealth and the other industrials contributed to a fund, and NDIGC used that fund to guarantee individual accounts up to $30,000, family accounts to $420,000.
But NDIGC was underfunded. When Commonwealth failed, its depositors lost something like $67 million. There was only $1.5 million in NDIGC's entire fund.
Even so, depositors didn't worry. Nebraska will pay us back, they told themselves, because the NDIGC is a state agency. They were shocked to find out it wasn't a state agency. Senator Vard Johnson, chairman of a legislative committee set up to investigate the Commonwealth collapse, says the legislature went to great pains to make sure the state would not be held responsible for the NDIGC.
The law was simply an enabling act. It enabled any institutions who desired to form a private corporation to, in effect, provide a guarantee for deposits in member corporations. It gave them the authorizing legislation to form that private corporation.